Hey y'all, today we're making 3 easy Valentine's recipes. Okay, so we're going to start out with some strawberry cream cheese cookies. This is going to be super easy and super quick. All of these are really easy and really quick to throw together. You're going to need 6 ounces of softened cream cheese. Make sure it's soft or it's not going to mix in very well. And then it's not quite a whole block, okay? So only 6 ounces. Then you're going to need 1 box of strawberry cake mix, whatever kind, whatever brand. Any of it will work just fine as long as it's strawberry, okay? Dump this in your bowl. Then you're going to add 1 egg, and we're going to use a mixer for this. You don't have to use a stand mixer. You could definitely use a hand mixer, but you just need it to make sure that that cream cheese gets good and mixed in, okay? Then you're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And all of the recipes I'm making today, I got from Pinterest because I was just like, I don't do a lot of cooking on, for Valentine's Day really, but I wanted to make some cute things that the grandkids would like, or maybe, you just want to have a little snacky something with your honey. These are just super, super easy to throw together. So then you're going to add a 1/2 cup of oil. I use canola oil because that's just what I have, but you can use whatever you have. Then we're just going to mix this until all that cake mix is mixed in and you don't have any, hunks of cream cheese, okay? It took probably, because my cream cheese was good and soft, it took less than a minute to mix this all together, okay? Once everything is mixed together, you're just going to scrape everything down off the sides if you need to. And then we're going to add in some white chocolate chips. I'm adding in about 3/4 of a cup of the white chocolate chips. And you can see one of my grandbabies is standing there just anxiously waiting for these cookies to be ready. So just fold those white chocolate chips in until they're, good and mixed in. And then because this is a super, super soft dough, we're going to go ahead and put this in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes to an hour just to let it firm up a little bit. So once it's time, your cookies have sat in the refrigerator, go ahead and take a big old cookie sheet and preheat your oven to 350 if I didn't say that. I'm using just my small cookie scoop, and these silicone mats I'm using, you see I have 2 kind of overlapping. Those are 9 by 13 if that tells you what the size of this pan is in case you needed to know. And somebody please help me and tell me how I get the stains off my silicone mats because they look grungy and dirty, but I swear they're clean. Okay? Anyway, if y'all have a tip for that, let me know down in the comments. So I ended up scooping out, I think this made about 30 cookies. Now, of course, it's going to depend on how big you scoop them out, but for the amount that I used, it made about 30 cookies. So I used this whole cookie sheet and then another small cookie sheet. Bake those for about 12 to 13 minutes until they're just starting to brown around the edges, and that's it. Okay? So the next thing that we're going to do is some strawberry fudge. So this is super easy, 2 ingredients. Well, unless you count sprinkles as an ingredient, then it's 3. But you're going to take 1 bag of white chocolate chips, put those in a microwave safe bowl, and then we're going to pop those in the microwave 30-second increments until your chips are melted. Now, it took mine a minute and 30 seconds. So 30 seconds, I stirred, 30 seconds, I stirred, and then this is after the last 30 seconds. And you can see it still looks like they're not melted, but if you just get it out and start mixing it, it's hot enough that the ones that aren't quite melted will go ahead and melt as you mix these. See how I'm just kind of mashing right there? They're super, super soft already anyway, but when you mix them, it goes ahead and melts them the rest of the way. So don't overcook this. Okay, then you're going to add in 1 container of strawberry frosting, just regular old cake frosting. Again, it does not matter the brand or anything else. You just need to get the frosting mixed in to your white chocolate chips. Now, we made fudge for Christmas, some 2 ingredient fudge, but that time we melted our frosting. In this recipe, you don't need to melt the frosting. We just dump it in and it gets really soft and mixed in because our white chocolate is already hot. So you're just going to mix this until all of your white chocolate and your strawberry frosting is completely combined. You don't want to see like streaks of white. Well, I mean, I guess if you wanted, streaks of just bites of white chocolate, you could leave it streaky. It would be really pretty. But for me, I just mixed it all in until it was completely combined. Then you're going to take an 8x8 pan, line it with some parchment paper because it's easier to get it out of the pan if you use parchment paper. Go ahead and dump your stuff in. It's super, super soft at this point. You're going to spread that out as evenly as you can. And it doesn't have to be perfect, y'all. It definitely doesn't have to be perfect. None of this stuff ever is. Just do the best you can. And then I had some leftover from last year, Valentine's sprinkles. And so I just sprinkled those right over the top. Now, if they're not, if they're kind of rolling around and they're not really sticking down into your fudge, just take like your little rubber spatula or your hand, whatever you're using, and just kind of press them down into the top. Then you're going to need to put that in the refrigerator until it sets up. An hour, 2, 3, 12, overnight. It's not going to matter. You can leave it in there as long as you want to. You just want to make sure it's completely set. Then you're going to wiggle that parchment paper and pop it right out of the pan. And then I put mine on a cutting board because I greased the bottom of the parchment paper. So I don't want to get that grease all over my counter, So I always take mine out and sit it on some sort of a cutting board, a towel, a paper towel, something so the oil doesn't get all over your counter. You know what I mean? But do it how you want to. So then you just take a knife and you just hack off big pieces of it, and that's it. Look, you've got strawberry fudge, and you could do this with any flavor icing, really. Okay, the last thing that we're going to make are some pepperoni pizza roses. All right, so these are also super, super easy to throw together. You're going to need your oven at 375, and you're going to need 1 can of crescent dough. Now, the sheets maybe would have worked a little better, but I had this, so this is what I used. It works fine. You just have to make sure you pinch your seams together. So what you're going to do is roll out your crescent dough, and it's already kind of perforated in triangles, but it's also like in 4 big sections. Does that make sense? Like 4 sections of 2 triangles each. You're going to see in a minute. You're going to need to tear this into the rectangles that it's, already kind of made into. Does that make any sense? This big sheet, you need 4 pieces, okay? So what you're going to do is take that one, did I say triangle? I meant rectangle, y'all. You know what? When I start talking, I get those mixed up, but I promise I know my shapes. I do know my shapes, y'all. So anywho, you're going to go ahead and just kind of roll this out. You don't need it super, super flat, but you do need to make it where you have enough surface area to do what you're going to need to do. Now, when I first started these, excuse me, when I first started these, I was cutting them into 3 strips. Okay, and then as I went, I was like, I'm not sure this is big enough. So then I went to 2 strips, but you can do it however you want. Whatever way works, it'll all work. Okay, it'll all work. You just do it the way that you want to do it. So once you get it cut into strips, and look, y'all, this silicone mat, it's in my Amazon store, y'all already know, and I also have one of those little mini rollers in there if y'all need one of those. But this silicone mat, oh my gosh, this has made my life so easy. Or so much easier, I should say, in the kitchen. Maybe not other aspects of my life, but definitely in the kitchen. So then I just take my strips and I flatten those out a little bit more, and then you're going to just need pizza stuff, okay? So I've got pizza sauce, I've got some cheese, and I've got some pepperoni. Now, like I said, you want to be, you need them kind of flat, but you don't need them so flat that they're going to rip when you start to put them together. And I started to just make one, and I was like, why don't I just lay them out and make all 3 at the same time? The way that I work probably sometimes doesn't make any sense, y'all, but it all comes out in the end. So you're going to take a tiny bit of this pizza sauce. You don't want a ton of this pizza sauce because you want your dough to be able to stick to itself. And if you're just, have way too much pizza sauce, which I did, I was a little heavy-handed on this first piece. But it's not going to roll as easy because everything's going to slip around, So a tiny little layer of pizza sauce, a little thin layer of mozzarella cheese, or whatever kind of cheese you want to put. If you put cheddar cheese on your pizza, I reckon you could just use cheddar cheese if that's what you want to do. But you could also add some Italian seasoning if you wanted to, and you could use spaghetti sauce for this. You can season up some tomato sauce. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. So grease you a muffin pan. Then once you get your sauce and your cheese down, go ahead and lay down a layer of pepperonis, okay? And again, it doesn't matter. If all you have is the humongous pepperonis, just cut them. You want to lay those pepperonis. You see how I've got them kind of halfway on that dough? Because we're going to take the end of the dough and fold it up over our pepperoni, okay? Because if we don't make some sort of a bottom for this rose that we're making, all your stuff is just going to ooze out and be in the bottom of the muffin pan. Does that make sense? You see what I'm saying? Like, we need the dough on the bottom to be able to catch, you know, like the melty cheese and stuff like that. So once you get it looking like this, you're going to take one end and you're going to roll it. Try to roll it sort of tight, but not super, super tight, because again, you see, you can kind of see, this is a terrible angle, but where the perforation was on my piece of dough was kind of coming apart right there. So my sauce was oozing out just a bit, but it's fine. It turned out fine. Just keep rolling it. And then that's your little rose. Look how stinking cute that is. So you're going to just do that to all your little pieces until you make as many as you make. Because I started out doing these in cutting them into 3 strips, and then I went to cutting them into 2 strips, I only ended up making, 6, 7, 8, like 9 of these is what I got out of this can of dough. And this doesn't take a lot of ingredients, y'all. And they're so simple. And let me tell you, I had my grandkids the night that I made all these. They loved them. Loved them. Okay. Well, you know, the bigger kids loved them too. But the grandbabies definitely love these. They're super easy to eat. And you just kind of, see there, look at that. All my little roses ready to go in the oven. But you're going to put those in the oven, y'all. Well, I added a little bit more cheese because you can't have too much cheese, right? I sprinkled just a tiny bit of cheese right over the top of each one just to give it a little extra, because it is pizza, right? And then I baked these for about 15 minutes. Just watch them, because you just want to make sure that your dough gets done, because you don't want to bite into these and have raw dough. So for my oven, it took about 15 minutes, okay? So this is, you look, I had one fall apart over there. So you may have some of those. And are they going to be perfect? No, they're not. But they're stinking adorable, okay? They're so cute, and they're really, really good, y'all. So if you like pizza, you're definitely going to like those, right? So here are some of our little pizza roses. They're super cute, y'all. And you really could add other things if you like ground beef. Now you got to be careful on how big a strips you know how big your strips are, how much stuff will fit in there, but you can really use anything you want. And then these are our little strawberry cream cheese cookies. I almost left those in there a little long. See how my chips were a little brown in some spots? But that's okay. They tasted delicious, delicious. And of course, do not forget about our little fudge. And I took a tiny little cookie cutter, y'all, and I cut some of the fudge into little heart shapes just to make it a little bit more Valentine's-ish for y'all. But anyway, y'all need to try some of these. Let me know down in the comments if you do. And that's all I have for y'all today, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Bye, y'all.